Um, I'll be chairing tonight's meeting. Unfortunately, Mayor Masala and Councillor Feeney cannot be here tonight, so we'll do our best. I'm just going to wait for 2 seconds for Councillor Small Pennefather. She forgot her glasses. Who's going to second it? Oh, here she is. Okay. Est-ce que j'ai quelqu'un qui peut ouvrir la séance, s'il vous plaît?
Oui, je propose de ouvrir la séance.
Est-ce que je peux avoir l'appui, s'il
Oui,
vous plaît?
je l'appuie.
Tout en faveur?
Oui.
Merci. Bless you. Nothing under 2, aucun sujet. Accueil des visiteurs. Est-ce que je peux avoir quelqu'un pour l'adoption de l'ordre du jour, s'il vous plaît?
Oui, Madame la suppléante, je propose d'adopter l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire de lundi le 24 février 2025 tel que présenté.
Est-ce que je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît?
Oui, je l'appuie.
Tout en faveur?
Oui.
Merci. Approbation des procès-verbaux.
Oui, je propose d'approuver le procès-verbaux de la séance ordinaire du conseil tenue le 27 janvier 2025.
Est-ce que je peux avoir l'appui?
Oui, je l'appuie.
Tout en faveur?
Oui.
Correspondence, we have nothing under correspondence. And we're going to move on to reports, starting with report of the mayor. So I'm very happy to announce that the Montréal-Ouest received a $2 million in financial assistance granted by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to support the construction of its new Sports and Recreation Centre. This grant will significantly contribute to the town's financial objectives for the construction of the $39.2 million project. Mayor Masala said, "We're grateful for the support of the FCM and the Government of Canada. We share the same vision on environmental issues and together advocate for the resilience of the new Sports and Recreation Centre in the face of climate change. The construction of the new centre has been a long time in the making and will continue to serve as a cornerstone of our community, with modernity, climate change resilience, and universal accessibility at the forefront of its design. This new center will serve future generations to come." Now I just want to find it in French. I'm coming. Nous sommes très heureux d'annoncer une aide financière de 2 millions de dollars accordée par la Fédération canadienne des municipalités pour soutenir la construction de son nouveau centre sportif et récréatif. Cette subvention contribuera de manière significative aux objectifs financiers de la ville pour la construction de ces projets. Monsieur le maire Massal a dit, nous sommes reconnaissants du soutien de la FCM et du gouvernement du Canada. Nous partageons la même vision face aux enjeux environnementaux et prônons ensemble la résilience du nouveau centre sportif et récréatif au changement climatique. Le centre est en préparation depuis longtemps et comme par le passé, il demeurera une pierre angulaire de notre communauté, construit dans un esprit de modernité résilient face au changement climatique et accessible à tous. Cet établissement servira les générations futures. That's it. Now we're moving to councillors' reports, starting with mine. I don't have much of a report tonight, so just a reminder that the next Planning Advisory Committee will be on the 26th of March. We only have one next month, and your files need to be submitted 2 weeks ahead of time. Moving now to seat number 1, Councillor Lauren Small-Pennefather will report on matters pertaining to public security and urban planning.
Merci, la mairesse suppléante. Bienvenue ce soir à tous d'être parmi nous ce soir. Le focus ce soir sera sur les opérations de déneigement, les rôles de la sécurité publique et aussi le stationnement. So tonight, obviously, we're focusing on some of the snow removal operations that have taken place and the role that public security takes in supporting public works. We're actually in our 5th largest snow removal operation for the winter season. And the PSOs have been supporting public works by removing unlawfully parked cars that hinder our operations by providing intermittent traffic control when requested by crews and ensure that bylaws related to snow removal are being respected. That means that we had to tow about 28 vehicles this season and issuing numerous tickets for vehicles impeding snow removal operations. Our department was also highly solicited this week for callers related to parking disagreements between neighbors and other issues caused by the snow. And as well, I just wanted to give you a couple of pointers with regards to snow removals and your contractors. So public security has been verifying work that's been done by contracted private snow removal. And there were numerous interventions. So you do have to make sure that whoever you have under contract for your snow removal is permitted appropriately by the town. And there were numerous interventions, including verbal warnings, written warnings, and 2 tickets were also issued for bylaw violations. And just to kind of wrap up with regards to where we are in snow removal, is that just to kind of give you an idea of snow removal and snow operations, you need to be aware of the following guidelines. Snow from private driveways and walkways must not be placed on public sidewalks, lanes, or streets. The only exception is when the town is in a snow removal period, and that means the orange signs are out. So if the orange signs are out and we're in removal of snow operations, then you can add to the banks to be removed. Your snow must be spread out along the snowbank, not piled in a single large mass. We had instances of residents of their contractors dumping snow on the street after public works snow removal operations. So again, it has to be when there's active snow removal operations. Under no circumstances may snow be removed when driveway be placed on the street in front of any neighboring driveways or around fire hydrants. And finally, the blockage of any street, sidewalk, or lane by snow removed from private property will not be tolerated. So again, we had about a month worth of snow fall within 4 days. That was about 74 to 75 centimeters of snow. Definitely was a challenge in terms of making sure that Public Works had adequate space to be able to remove the snow. And that means that if there were people who were parked illegally on the street who were impeding that process, it takes, if you can imagine somebody having to stop in an operation every 5 to 10 minutes because a car was parked where they weren't supposed to be parked. If you've gone to NDG recently, you can kind of see what that looks like. People are cars are thrown in wherever they can find a spot. They're parked backwards, forwards, sideways, making it very, very difficult for snow removal operations. So we appreciate the people that have been respecting that. We know it's been a challenge to park, especially for people who live on Westminster. It's not easy to find parking sometimes under those circumstances, but just want to make sure people are aware when there's active snow removal operations. There's a reason why. I can share my own anecdotal story. We are in Ballantyne North, and somebody decided to park right in front of our driveway, completely blocking our ability to get out of our driveway, which made it quite dangerous. My husband spent about an hour knocking on doors trying to find somebody to come get their car. And in the end, we actually called to get them towed, but then I thought maybe somebody was at the church. Often there are people at the church, and sure enough, the person was at the church just while somebody was coming to tow the car. So you can imagine if Public Works or public security had to continuously go and knock on doors to figure out whose car belongs to who, it's not very efficient. So if people would just make sure to respect the no parking the no parking permitting, especially when you see the orange signs. That means there's an active snow removal in process, and that might mean that it's in one part of the town and not in another part of the town. But if you see the orange signs out, please make sure to respect them. And we, again, appreciate everybody's hard work, Public Works, Public Security, and everybody that's contributed to that in the town. So thank you. C'est tout. Merci.
Thank you. For seat number 2, Councillor Elizabeth Hewlin, reporting on matters pertaining to Public Works, Communications, and Environment.
Thank you very much. Bonsoir à tous. So February has been snow and more snow for Public Works team. They've been working extremely long hours since the storms on the 13th and 16th, with many employees working at over 100 hours during that period. Because of this, we were able to remove the majority of snow from the streets and sidewalks by Friday, February 21st, and thanks to all the residents who noticed this Herculean effort and sent their appreciation to the department. That was really nice, and the more you can do that, the better. The guys have really been going at full tilt for a very long time. Our teams were out again today on snow operations in the Montréal-Ouest area, and will spend the rest of the week cleaning the town, parking lots, cul-de-sacs, and the hump bridge. So if you notice, there are still some areas that haven't been quite done. We're going to get to that. And since snow operations are continuing, and they'll unfortunately be more likely, we're likely to have more this winter, I'd like to inform residents that parking their cars in the street so their contractor can remove snow from their driveways is the single largest factor that hampers our snow cleaning removal operation. So it was sort of akin to what Lauren was saying a moment ago. The cars in the street make it sometimes impossible for us to clean the streets properly. And I know a lot of people will put their car in the street when there's a snowstorm so their contractor can get in and out easily, but that's like the single worst thing you can do for the Public Works team in clearing the snow for everybody. So I'd ask you not to do that and keep your cars in the driveway during the storm and only take it out afterwards once the plows have had a chance to go by. It makes a huge difference. Also this month, as if the snow wasn't enough, there was a water break on Valentine South near Avon, which is now under control with the water pressure much reduced, and currently only a single fire hydrant is impacted. Au cours des derniers mois, le service de communication a mené plusieurs projets visant à informer les citoyens des événements et initiatives de la ville. Cela inclut les communications liées aux opérations de déneigement, la diffusion de deux annonces importantes, la promotion des ateliers et événements du service de loisirs, ainsi que la création d'outils de communication pour le service des travaux publics. So that's it for me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have during question period.
Thank you, Councillor Hewlin. For seat number 3, Councillor Finney being absent, Councillor Hewlin will read her report on matters pertaining to finance, recreation, and topics related to the status of age-friendly municipality.
So thank you very much. This is on behalf of Colleen Feeney. First, the finance portfolio. The first installment of property taxes was due February 20th. Thank you to the 82.5% of residents who've already paid their taxes. In disbursements, total expenditures for the month were $2,466,174. $1.7 million of that, 69%, was for the new Sports and Recreation Center for construction, architectural, and engineering work. Other main expenditures included $97,000 for snow removal, $78,000 for IT annual contracts, $61,000 for salt and asphalt, and $40,000 for garbage, recycling, and compost. Thirdly, on to recreation and culture. At the community center, we have the following upcoming activities. March Break Camp is next week, March 3rd through 7th, and registration is open to residents and non-residents. There are still a few spaces available. There will be a parents' night off for 4 to 10-year-olds, or actually their parents, on Saturday, March 29th from 5 to 9 p.m. We also have a family and teen cooking workshop on Friday, March 28th, and a free tea and talk with an athlete at 1 p.m. on March 19th. This featured athlete is Ian Clyde, a retired boxer who represented Canada in the 1976 Olympics. For summer, we have day camp tennis and day camp and tennis camp are open for registration, as well as job applications that are being accepted for summer camp and the pool. And the outdoor rinks at George Booth, Strathern, Rugby, and Davies Park are all open. They had excellent conditions, but we have to see what's going to happen with upcoming weather to see how long that's going to last. Information about all the events have been added to the website and posted on Facebook, in the Informer, and with registration on Amelia. And lastly, for the seniors portfolio, upcoming activities include on March 14th, a St. Patrick's Luncheon at noon with live music. On March 11th, the active walking group will head to the Royal Mount for a public art walk. And you can certainly get any information by calling the community center, for that, these particular seniors activities, an RSVP is required. If you have any questions, you can give Colleen a call or email her at her town address. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Feeney, for sending your report, and Councillor Yulin for reading it. Now, we're going to move to the first public question period. At our first question period, we will answer questions from the floor for a maximum of 25 minutes. We will limit it to 2 questions per person. A short preamble, your first question, and a follow-up question if you want. And I will remind you, it is a question period and not a debate period. After the questions from the floor, we will answer questions from residents that had been submitted online until 2 p.m. today on any topic. The same rules apply. 25 minutes total and 2 questions per person maximum. In the second question period, we will take questions pertaining to the agenda submitted via our website during this meeting. We will limit it to 10 minutes from the floor and 10 minutes for online. Lors de notre première période de questions, nous répondrons aux questions de la salle pendant au maximum de 25 minutes. Nous les limiterons à 2 questions par personne. Un court préambule, votre première question et une question de suivi si vous le souhaitez. Et je vous rappelle que c'est une période de questions et non une période de débat. Après les questions de la salle, nous répondrons aux questions des résidents qui avaient été soumis en ligne jusqu'à 14 aujourd'hui sur n'importe quel sujet. Les mêmes règles s'appliquent. 25 minutes au total de 2 questions par personne maximum. Lors de la deuxième période de questions, nous répondrons aux questions relatives à l'ordre des soumises via notre site Internet lors de cette réunion. Nous les limiterons à 10 minutes depuis la salle et 10 minutes pour online. So I'm going to invite anybody to come up and ask the first question. Please state your name and address.
Sure, Joanna Dewey, 232 Percival. So I just wanted to say also thank you for the excellent snow clearing work, and I will send a thanks to Public Works directly. They did an amazing job. I just wanted to see if there was any update on the summary of the 2023 traffic report. A possibility of getting a summary, yeah.
Councillor
So,
you want to answer?
I have a note that I can send you, Joanna, after the meeting.
Okay.
And also just to clarify as well that the study was commissioned in 23, but the recommendations were not until 2024, the fall of 2024.
Okay.
And then in October, we had our first council meeting where we passed a bylaw. That was happened, like I said, coincidentally with the accident that happened in October as well. So I have like a short little kind of a summary that I can send you, Joanna, after the meeting today.
Okay, great. Thank you. That would be appreciated.
Sure.
And also, I just wonder if you could speak to the issue of signage. Like, what are the issues involved in terms of getting up a bit more signage to indicate that this is that this is an area that's close to a school. I like coming south on Westminster, there's some signage indicating that it's a school zone, but coming north, there's no such signs indicating that. And I just wonder, is there a reason why we can't have them? Or I just wonder if there's any issue in getting that type of signage.
So I don't know historically, Joanna, why they were only put on one side of the road, but like we did with the stop signs, we can, again, I replied to you on this as well, is that we will look to see if we can also, as part of the phasing, put some signs in on the opposite side of the street. So this is coming into the town, driving northbound, and not going out of the town, driving southbound, correct?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's all covered going southbound,
right,
but coming
and not
northbound
coming.
is not.
I actually don't know historically why, but I understand why it makes sense to have it on both sides. If there's no reason why it's impeding us for doing it, like kind of like why we can't put an overhanging light because we're part of the truck route, because people had suggested that we put an overhanging light where the crosswalk is. We can't because we're part of the truck route. This was explained during the meeting with the commandant from SPVM Pédicule Neuf.
Yeah.
If there's no reason like that, this is something that's a simple fix that we can put in. We will do that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lauren.
Okay, thank you, Joanna.
Thank you.
Oh, I just wanted to, do you need some water? I was just going to offer you some. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, good. Okay.
Hi. Alana Zimmerman, 4690 Trenham. I'm not a Montreal-Wester. But
So your name again?
Alana Zimmerman.
Okay.
Okay. So there's been a lot of talk about the Ainsley, the Westminster Broughton crosswalk not being something that kids, like the students in cross at, but all the signage and the light, like the push button to cross is still there. There's no indication that this isn't still a crosswalk. Is this something that the town?
No, it's a crosswalk. It absolutely is a crosswalk. But the students are informed the safest place to cross is at Ainsley. That's the only way. It's the only place you have a three-way stop. So that's the school has been sensitizing the students that is where they should be crossing if they need to cross east-west, west-east, and they shouldn't be using Broughton. And yes, Broughton still is a crosswalk, but the students at Royal West have always, my understanding from Mr. Pita, have been told that they should only be using the Ainsley intersection at Westminster to cross safely.
Okay. My second question is about the train station that was built, that just got finished last year.
You mean the small building on
The
Sherbrooke?
little Sherbrooke building.
Okay, yeah.
How much was the town consulted at all by EXO when you went? I have a threefold little question. Was the town consulted about how it should be built and what the needs were? What were the needs that were told, like to you at least, from them? And do you feel like it's succeeded?
So there actually was a public consultation, and it was open to the public. So I don't have notes from that. But I do remember that there was a consultation. The town was involved in the consultation as well. So the idea of putting that, they call it an édicule, which is a small building, was to move foot traffic off of Westminster and to get people to use the underground going from Harley / Broughton to go underneath to go on and exit off of Sherbrooke. So it was really there to get rid of a lot of the foot traffic that was on Westminster. It was also to get rid of that small little island that was really dangerous to cross as well, that was on the corner, the east-south corner of Sherbrooke. So there was definitely an investment that was made and security. I have to look, Alana, I don't know from heart, and I think it was before I was on council as well, but I'd have to look, and I remember also myself participating, I think, as a citizen as well, just to see what they were providing. But if you want, I can check to see particularly what kinds of exchanges that the town had, because again, it was a public consultation that they had.
Okay, so we can't discuss whether you think it's successful, because we don't know exactly what we're talking about, the success of what.
So I think it has removed a lot of the foot traffic off of Westminster, and I get that the school still has to use Westminster Cross. Like there are
Yeah.
circumstances that people are still going to have to cross Westminster, but the idea is to get people to go down Broughton, Hartley, and I think people are using it. Like, I'm not there. I get updates. I do speak with EXO on a regular basis, more so since the accidents happened on Westminster. If there are tweaks that need to be made, I know that they're doing further work this summer, but in terms of everybody, you know, maximized efforts, CPK, EXO, excuse me, SPVM, the town, again, EMSB and Royal West are all trying to work together to improve the safety. I think you can get it to a point, you can never have 100%. I think you know that. You can do your best. There's also systemic poor driving in Montreal, and that's why the SPVM has increased their presence on Westminster quite a bit. With regards to their geography, including Montreal-West, Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, Côte-Saint-Luc, Hampstead, they're giving us much more than we normally would receive. So the best way to get if drivers are not doing what they should be doing and not respecting the traffic laws, it's to ticket them. And the students as well have to be very conscious about crossing the street and making sure they're making eye contact and abiding by the rules as well.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. And if I can, Alana, get some more information about what that public consultation entailed, I'm happy to share that.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, you want my?
Thank you.
Anybody else? Please come to the microphone and tell us your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Terry Tull, and my husband, Joe Swerk, and I reside at 32 Westminster Avenue North.
Your question?
Yes, please. We've been living there for over 13 years, and we're just experiencing a lot of parking tickets, not knowing, because we live on Westminster. We find that first of all, the Strathern sort of area, the street, the parking, it's not user-friendly in terms of the signage. And so when the snowfall happened, I wish we could have just parked our car on top of our roof, so to speak. So we're just wondering, you know, what we can do to make it more user-friendly for those who aren't, you know, we don't have the home, but we are living on Westminster. I've seen NDG, Côte Saint-Luc, if you're, you know, if they have the tickets, you know, the little signage on the vignettes where they have it on the car. So there is a street designated for us. Sometimes, I mean, the parking lot could be full, and then we have other individuals coming from other cities taking those spots. They don't know though, right? It's just there. So I think that would be something to think about, just so that, you know, my poor husband, I'm like, get out there and go move the car at 9 o'clock at night, because we don't want that ticket. So it's a little bit frustrating.
Counselor,
and my husband wants to say something.
But also, I feel that I've sort of been targeted because I have like a white Wrangler Jeep that actually sticks out a bit. So every time I got a ticket, I checked all the cars. I've sent Lauren pictures. I was the only one that got a ticket. And that's happened numerous times. So the last couple of weeks, I've been taking pictures. The cars have been there for 3-4 days. This much snow on them, no ticket. I go park there on a Sunday for 6 hours, I get a ticket. So I don't understand because my car stands out, and if you're driving by, I noticed that car, but the other ones are all sort of look gray or whatnot, and they all look the same.
So we're also looking to see, I don't know if we only use, you know, sometimes you don't just put a ticket on a windshield, there's a way to look up a license, so I'm just verifying to see if that's something that people have, maybe if they had snow on the windshield, that they were sent a ticket. I don't know if we only ticket physically on the vehicle. I don't know if the ticket may have been under snow. So
I cleaned the snow off of the car, and there was no ticket. And I've gotten a ticket, they put it in a little Ziploc bag, put it in there, so it doesn't get wet or snow, and I see that I have a ticket, so.
Ladies, we're not that kind of person, but after a while, when you're the only one getting tickets, just start noticing a bit much.
But also on Milner and Strathern, the parking lot, there's a sign that says you're allowed parking from 8 in the evening to 8 in the morning.
Okay.
In the day, it's 2-hour parking. But then underneath it, there's another sign that says you're not allowed parking from 2 to 4 in the morning, which contradicts the first sign.
And then the website?
But then if you go on the website, it tells you you're allowed parking there on the weekend or whatnot, but then I got a ticket parking there on the weekend. So that contradicts the other two signs that are in the parking lot.
Okay, so,
So now on the street of Stratton and Milner, you're allowed parking there from a certain, I have the permit to park there, so I'm allowed.
yeah,
But you're not allowed parking there Monday through Friday from 2 to 6 in the morning if you don't have a permit. But that's Monday through Friday. So I figured that would apply to the parking lot too. But they don't really tell you if you're allowed parking there on a week. I parked there for 12 years on a weekend and never got a ticket. Now all of a sudden I'm getting tickets on a weekend.
And
I asked the young lady, because her name was on it, and I happened to stop her, and it was her that gave me the ticket. I asked them questions, and they have a hard time answering me, because they don't even really know what the parking situation is. But I go, how can you give me a ticket if you don't know what the rules are?
so I do have some clarification for you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, if that's
please.
helpful, and I can also send it to you in an email as well, if you'd like. So, the 2-hour limit during the day has been use of the Percival lot, and the vehicles that were ticketed being in the Strathern parking lot for more than 2 hours from a 10:30, I think from 10:30 to 4:30, where signage says no permit. So there's part of the lot that you cannot park in, even if you have a permit. So it's no
The
permit.
whole lot you're not allowed parking in, even with a permit. The
Right.
one on Stratton,
And
and
then-
the one in the back you can with a permit.
And
That's where I
then-
have my work.
That's right. And then there's a 24-hour permit which allows you to park up for 24 consecutive hours on streets that don't have signs with 2 hours or less parking. In this case, you can't park on Westminster, since it's a 60-minute zone, in a 2-hour zone between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Monday to Friday. You would need to park on Wolseley or on Strathern just above Curzon during the daytime, and on Strathern right behind where your apartment is on nights and weekends. I will let you know, like I did in my email, that we have commissioned a parking usage study by, give me a second, by the, hold on, here's my note, by the Agence de Mobilité Urbaine de Montréal. So they'll be conducting a study about usage, because we only have 19 kilometers of roads in the town, so we have very little flexibility in terms of where people can and cannot park. But where we see there could be improvements made, where there's 2 hours, and I think everybody understands the 2 hours for people who are spots that are very close to the train station, you would have people parking there all day. We also have 4-hour limitations. We have the situation that you have with regards to living on Westminster. So we hope we will be having some interesting results with their presence in the town of evaluating where it makes sense to make changes, and the parking lots as well, and this includes the parking lots. Like I told you, we have 5 that we're responsible for in the town, and where people are not necessarily parking, but it is a current bylaw where you could store a vehicle, and if we're looking at efficiencies, maybe that isn't the best situation for us. So once we have a report, there'll be a report that is back. Raphael, I'm just going to ask our town to do a question. So, quand on va faire le rapport, on va demander c'est quoi 1 an, 6 mois d'avoir les recommandations de rapport de la société de mobilité. Yeah. Okay, so we should get results back spring, summer next year.
Okay, but for us, right?
Yeah,
Do you mean 2026 or this year?
sorry, 25, 25.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay. We just, listen,
no, I understand.
you know, Lauren, all I want is just, do I have to get out of my house every night to go and move my car? I mean, it's just, this is something very new, and we just want, just
Yeah.
tell me where I can park.
So
where I
I'm going to
don't
send it to
feel
you in
like
an
I have to
email.
get out of my house,
Yeah.
and I won't get a ticket. That's all we
Okay,
want.
so I will email to you, but you would need to park on Wolseley or on Strathern just above Curzon during the daytime, and on Strathern right behind your apartment on nights and weekends, and I'll send it to you in an email.
But was there ever, like the signage for the parking lot on Strathern and Milner? I know a bunch of cars that people that live here, we used to park there for the whole weekend. Nobody used to ticket us. Does this become a new rule that now you're not allowed being in the parking lot on the weekend?
Because, Lauren, if you look on the website, there's nothing saying you can't park. It says you can park after 6 until, I think 6 or 8 o'clock in the morning. Not saying anything about the parking lot.
So if there's a discrepancy between the signage and what you're seeing on the website or in the parking lot, there is, we'll make sure that that's addressed as well.
Okay, because my sister lives on Westminster.
Okay.
So this is how it all started. She parks every single weekend, never a ticket, but we always get tickets. And I think it's because our car is just white and bright, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to interrupt because we're really running out of time.
Yes,
And this
sure,
is
yeah.
not
Yeah.
a debate, but she will get back to
I
you.
will
and
get
give
back
you
to
all
you.
that information. And now I'm aware that you sent that in written, that question, so I'm not going to read it during the
that's
the question
fine.
period.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
very good.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank
you
you for
very much for
coming
your time.
tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we don't have anybody else with questions? Okay, so we're going to move to the questions that they were sent online. The first one is from Kevin Aladdin, 59 Promenade, Courtenay. A huge kudos to the Public Works team regarding the recent double snowstorm. Public Works has done an incredible job with the snow removal. I'm on Courtenay and didn't get clear after the first storm, but we were prioritized following the second storm. It's too late, yeah. Job well done. The second question, that was a comment, thank you so much. There's a question regarding the snow removal. I know that priority is to clear in front of schools among other areas. For Elizabeth Valentine, although the front of the school is on Northview, the majority of walk-in and parents' drop-offs are on Percival. Could this be prioritized too? Councillor Yulin, would you like to address that question?
Sure, thanks for your thanks for the accolades, first of all, Kevin, that's great, and we'll make sure they get to Public Works. With regard to making the Percival side of EB a priority route, I'll bring it up with Public Works. I'm not sure that is something that they would be able to do, but I can certainly make the suggestion. So thank you for your question.
Okay, the next question is from Danka Dusik, 74 Percival, and I apologize if I didn't pronounce your last name properly. Several of us submitted claims that the town organized for damages from the July 13, 2023 flood. Despite having contacted the town clerk's office in written many times, there has been no feedback on the claims. First question, when will those who submitted claims to the town be informed on the status of our claims? I would like to apologize at this point. We need to investigate a little bit further on this point, and the clerk, our town clerk, will get back to you. Unfortunately, I didn't have a clear answer for you. So we'll get back to you. The second question is, what is the town's plan regarding town drainage to make sure that flooding doesn't happen again? Councillor Euling, would you like to address this issue?
Sure, thank you for your question. Well, what we're doing is what we've been doing all along, and that is renewing our infrastructure a piece at a time, and we'll continue to do that. That's really the only thing I can tell you in terms of the sort of ordinary rains and weather. Having these huge storms, though, that happen more and more often, there's going to be flooding. I mean, you just look at your insurance bill and they know what's happening, and so do we. And there's nothing really that can be done about the kind of volume that's coming down in the huge storms. But with respect to our general infrastructure, we're having that renewed on a regular basis, and we'll continue to do so. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. Next question from Sydney Freestone, 113 Brook South. We acknowledge the snow removal efforts following the February storms. However, the delayed clearing of Ronald Street, a vital high-density mixed-use thoroughfare, is deeply concerning. The sidewalks remained uncleared until Friday, 5 days after the second storm. This delay not only jeopardizes the viability of essential local businesses, including multiple daycares, but also poses a significant safety risk to our community's children, forcing parents to navigate strollers in the street. We urgently request a review of the prioritization process to ensure equitable and timely snow removal, thereby safeguarding both our businesses and our residents. Councillor Yulin.
Yes, thank you very much for your question. I'll send this along to Public Works. They can have a look at it, but I have to say that this storm, or the two storms that we had in February, we haven't had this much snow all at once since 1941, so it was pretty extraordinary. So I wouldn't want to judge the efficiency or the prioritization of our snow clearing based on these two storms, because it is a rare and very difficult event to navigate. That being said, I would certainly send this to Public Works to look at, and see if they feel that it has merit for regular snow clearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from Linda Hammersmith, 226 Valentine North. I was wondering, as well as we all were able to hold our garbage for 2 weeks, would it be more cost effective to do that all the time? Councillor Yulin again.
Okay, thanks, Linda, for your question. Well, we've already given the garbage contract for the moment, but we can see in the next garbage contract, when we renew it, what the cost difference would be. It's something worth thinking about. Thanks for your question.
Thank you. Next question from David Smokot, 257 Promenade, Sheraton. First question, snow removal. With each passing of the snow plow on the street, the driveway exits were covered back with the compacted snow we clear and put on the side of the street. It almost looks like there is no consideration for our work to clear up the snow from our driveway exits. Can something be done about it to adopt a similar solution like in Toronto? And then he gives the address of the YouTube video. Second question, Westminster Avenue is very circulated street, but the state of the road is deplorable. When will it be properly repaired? Councillor Yielding.
Okay, sure. Thanks for your question, David. So, snow removal. I'm losing my mic's falling apart. Snow removal and blocking the driveway. So this is a perennial problem. We all have that. I think it was obviously magnified by 10 during these particular storms because, of course, there was a huge amount of snow. I know the solution you're talking about that has been circulating on Facebook in Toronto, where the plow brings an arm down and avoids putting snow in front of someone's driveway. Of course, we get a lot more snow than Toronto does, so it may be feasible for Toronto. Like I have done with some of the other questions, I can certainly pass that suggestion on to Public Works and see what they think of it. But I imagine that given, again, just like with the other question about Ronald, making judgments about the snow clearing based on this particular month maybe isn't all that realistic because we don't often get this kind of snow. But certainly I can pass your suggestion along. With respect to Westminster, yes, it's a very highly used street and the state of the road is deplorable. You're absolutely right. When will it be properly repaired? Westminster, as you could imagine, is the most complicated and expensive street to renew. So it's not on our radar for the next 3 years. We continue to patch it and make it passable as best we can, and we will, you know, when we're 3 or 4 years down the road, I think it may come up to the top of the list. But for now, we're doing our best to keep it in decent shape for people to travel. Thanks for your question.
Thank you. Next question is from Angus Mackay, 126 Percival. Do the business operating out of the residential building on Milner and Wolseley pay business taxes? I hope so. However, that's not for us to collect, since municipalities do not collect business tax. That is within the purview of the provincial and federal government. The only tax collected by municipality is the property tax. In the case of this building, this property is taxed as non-residential, at a non-residential rate, which is higher than the residential rate. So I hope that answered your question. Thank you so much. Mr. Mackay. Next question is from Linda Foy from 86 Roxton Crescent. I purchased the 24-hour parking permit for 2025 on November 18, 2024. I paid the full amount of $150. My car was stolen on January 13, 2025, and I will not be purchasing another car, so will not need the parking permit. Is it possible to have it canceled and Many thanks for your attention. I'm sorry, I don't know what this AMP means. Councillor Pennefather, you want to answer?
Sure.
that?
Thank you, Madame Mayor Suppliante. So just to give you an idea, we received this request today. It was an administrative matter that needed to be resolved, and it's now been resolved. So it's gone to the town admin, and we've resolved that. So thank you for your question. It's been canceled.
Great, thank you. Next question from Daniela Lulik from 36 Brock South, Montreal-West. Hello, I'm following up on my February 12th email regarding the Avon Brock South crosswalk button not functioning. South side crosswalk button, when pressed, doesn't light up the crosswalk. This has been an issue for several years, where it has been repaired and stopped functioning a couple of weeks or months later. With pedestrian safety a major concern in our town and drivers speeding along Avon, it is urgent that this crosswalk light function. It must function consistently as others do in Montreal. What is the town doing to find a solution? Thank you. Councillor Small-Pennefather, please.
Thank you. Yes, you're correct, Ms. Lulik. We've had a few exchanges as well on this. One part of the crosswalk is attached to a hydro pole, and the other side is functioning on a solar-powered battery. It's obviously the issue is with the solar-powered battery, so we are looking for a solution. I know it's taken a while, but we are continuing to look for a solution. Definitely agree. Safety has to be paramount, especially in that area, and hopefully we'll be able to get that resolved as soon as possible. Thank you again for being so vigilant.
Thank you. Next question from Robert Barnes, 227 Bedbrook. The recent interruption of waste collection was a perfect decision given the need to remove a ton of snow. Inspired by that, I wonder if we could reduce cost and diesel exhaust by collecting recycling and garbage either every 2 weeks or twice per month. Say, first and third Tuesday, Wednesday on each month. I would still hope for weekly compost collection to limit a bit what has become a squirrel nutrition program in my driveway. Many thanks. Councillor Yulin.
Thank you, Robert, for your question and for thinking about the squirrels. Well, I answered a similar question a moment ago about the every 2 weeks for the garbage, and that's always a possibility. We won't be doing it immediately because we have our garbage contract now for the year, and that may be renewed, but in future it's certainly worth thinking about. Unlikely that recycling would be every 2 weeks because of course we want to encourage people to recycle, and so the idea is to have that coming more often. But thank you very much for your suggestions and your question.
Thank you. Next question is from Robert Johnston, 249 Westminster Avenue. I note that this council is proposing to limit the ability of the citizens of Montreal-West to use their fireplace. Humankind has been burning wood for 60,000 years to stay warm, but somehow Quebec and the Montreal-West City Council has decided that evolution needs to be upended in service to political correctness. China is building 91 coal-fired power plants in 2025 alone. My question is, will council stand up for the residents of Montreal-West? Councillor Yulin.
Certainly. Well, certainly we will stand up for the residents of Montreal-West, and that's part of why we're instituting this new bylaw. And I have to say, I don't know that mankind having done something for 60,000 years is actually a good argument for the way we treat the planet, nor is how many gas-fired plants China's building. We don't usually take our cue from them. But I will read to you what I said in my last report that explains this bylaw a little bit better. So in 2023, the government report found that burning wood in the home is responsible for more premature deaths in Canada than any other pollution source, killing an estimated 2,300 people per year. Wood burning emits fine particulate matter and toxic chemicals, which, according to the American Lung Association, get deep into the organs, harming not just the lungs, but also blood vessels, the heart, the brain. And wood smoke can also cause wheezing, asthma attacks, and lead to serious health issues, such as heart attacks, stroke, and premature death. Its effects are particularly harmful for children and seniors. I should say, after explaining the rationale behind restricting wood burning, that you will still be able to burn wood, even given all that I've just said, but it will have to be in units that are EPA certified. So you would have to get an insert for your fireplace, or a wood stove that met EPA standards. So we actually aren't prohibiting wood burning. We're just prohibiting a certain wood burning in certain types of units. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Councillor Yulin. La prochaine question, c'est de Marie Dubuis, 31 Brimoire. Bonjour, je constate que l'ordre du jour n'est pas disponible en ligne. Sera-t-il possible d'envoyer dans le courriel d'invitation à la séance du conseil de l'ordre du jour et s'assurer qu'il soit également sur le site internet 24 heures à l'avance? Oui, merci, Madame Dubuis. On va faire le suivi avec l'administration pour améliorer cette situation. Ensuite, il a écrit que de plus, je note que celui de janvier 2025 est une langue anglaise. Il me semble que la loi exige qu'il soit également en français. Oui, et ça c'est une erreur et était déjà corrigée. Merci beaucoup pour votre question. Next is a question from Colin Broadhead from 148 Percival Avenue. The city and its workers did a fabulous job removing the snow this past week. Thank you. I'm wondering why, in the name of efficiency, savings, and environmentalism, we don't blow snow onto lawns, parks more often. Less trucks moving around town saves the town money. And I know it's not ideal on all these streets, especially those with small front lawns, but it seems like a simple cost-saving measure with little downside. Councillor Yulin.
Sure, thanks, Colin, for your question. It is interesting, the question about whether or not to blow the snow on the lawns regularly or not. And there are sort of two sides to that in terms of whether it's efficient. On the one hand, you'd think it would be efficient because you wouldn't need the trucks and blowing into the trucks. But on the other hand, blowing snow onto lawns is actually pretty time consuming because you have to be very, very careful where you aim the snow that you're shooting out of the snowblower. And that can really slow down operations. So it's not really an easy decision. This time it was an easy decision because there was just so much snow and only so few trucks that we had to blow it on the lawns, or we wouldn't be able to take it away. But I will pass on your suggestion to Public Works, and they can have a look at it. And if it has merit, they will certainly take it up. Thanks so much for your question.
Thank you. Next question, Judy Kennedy from 151 Strather North. Besides illumination on the stop sign near Royal West, I have seen no other changes concerning the crosswalks on Westminster. Will there be some signalization of the crosswalk at Westminster and Sherbrooke? 1, pedestrians cross at the corner without even looking, and if you are driving south of Westminster, because it's a double lane and a car might be blocking your view, you don't see the pedestrian until they are halfway across the street. And secondly, driving north of Westminster, crossing the tracks, bring even more danger to the pedestrian because of the signalization of the corner doesn't exist. So what is being proposed to fix this situation? Council Small Pennefather, please.
Thank you, Councillor Torres, Mairesse Suppléante. Thank you for your question, Mrs. Kennedy, and I guess this is supplemental to the information that we had, the exchange that we had last year in October, November.
as like I said, we undertook the traffic study in November of 2023. We received recommendations in the fall of 2024. We started to implement measures with the first reading to prohibit a southbound turn from Sherbrooke to Westminster. And of course, other recommendations to implement from the study are on our pilot project basis. And we actually have a notice of motion coming up later this evening. Organized, obviously, a meeting with key stakeholders in November. Again, another one with the commandant in January early this year. And unfortunately, as you're aware, because of the train, we cannot put a stop sign up on the east side of Sherbrooke and Westminster going northbound because of the close proximity to the train, which is why a number of our intersections actually only have one stop sign on one side, is because of the train and the regulations that we have to observe because of that. But like I said, there are a number of other measures that are coming up, and we have also applied for the Programme d'aide financière de Fonds de la Sécurité routière, Transport et Mobilité de Québec. That's for a grant. We applied on the 16th of January. There apparently is a pause on that, and we're hoping to get an update from our MNA, Desiree Magrand, on that, and hopefully that we can get some funding out of that grant situation. But again, you will see that we have some more measures coming up, prohibiting turns, and with the prohibition of some of those turns, that means a reconfiguration of some of the areas, well, of which you've referenced, Mrs. Kennedy. So we will have that notice of motion coming up a little bit later on this evening. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. Next question from Pamela Patenaude, 271 Westminster Avenue North. I would like to know the reason for a maximum of 2 cars allowed to street park per house. I have 2 adult children and myself who have cars, yet only 2 of us might park in this street overnight. I would like to have this reconsidered. Thank you, Pamela. Councillor Small-Pettit-Father?
Yes, thank you
Comments?
very much for your question. Again, I mentioned earlier, we have 19 kilometers worth of roads in the town, which means we can't have people parking unlimited amount of vehicles on the street. As I said, we are conducting a parking study over the course of the next few months, and we should have results in the spring and the summer to help us better understand how we can configure a little bit better with parking. Again, the 2-hour, 4-hour, 5 parking lots that we have under our jurisdiction in the town. And again, being environmentally friendly, of course, being near the train, hoping people would be encouraged to, use public transportation over vehicles. But again, limited in terms of how much place we do have to park in the town. But thank you for your question.
Thank you. Next question, Jennifer Melnick. I believe Councillor Yuling addressed the first question, but she can answer a second time. There is a water main break on Valentine South, just below Avon. Water has been visibly running for over a week now, since last Monday morning. Is our quality at risk? When is it going to be repaired? And secondly, I asked a question in December about lead pipes and received a reply that there was no lead pipes in our area. Knowing this, does the city test for lead levels in water for public health? If yes, where can residents see that data?
Thanks for your question, Jennifer. So the water break has been largely fixed. The water pressure has been reduced significantly. It's really only one hydrant that's affected. Your water quality is not at risk in this case. The question about lead pipes, yes, we do check for lead. We do checks every year, and that information is given to those homes that have had their water checked. Thanks very much for your question.
Thank you, Councillor Yuling. Next question is from Stan Carney on Wolseley Avenue. Do you think saving $75,000 on the garbage collection contract is worth the service to the taxpayer who will have their garbage picked up late in the afternoon, close to supper time? More Westers are used to quality service as in the past. Think about the smells and flies this summer. At least, will there be a rotation system with collection so that the inconvenience will be appreciated by all? With 3 sections in town, rotation is easy. I can help you make a schedule. I'm available.
Okay, thank you for your question, Mr. Carney. So, a couple things. One is the $75,000 that was saved was because we changed the day of the pickup from Thursday to Wednesday. So that doesn't really have anything to do with the time. And the contractor, the one we gave the contract to, is a different contractor. And each contractor makes their own schedule through town. We do not make the schedule for them. And unlikely, although you've kindly offered your own services, unlikely that they are going to ask for your help. They make the schedule and they make the route, and as long as it's between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., they can pick up any time in that schedule. So I'm afraid wherever you are on the schedule, that's likely where you are going to be for the next foreseeable future. Thanks for your question.
Thank you. Next question from Eileen O'Reilly, 139 Percival Avenue. A visiting friend received a parking ticket for parking more than 15 centimeters from the sidewalk. It was a winter night. There was some snow ice on the road, and she parked as not to get stuck. The ticket was issued 11:20 on a quiet Friday night. They were not blocking the street. Seems really out of character for the town to do this. In my 26 years of living on Percival, no guest of mine has ever received a ticket. Can you comment if this is a new norm moving forward? Will the 4-hour rule also be enforced? Councillor Lauren Small-Pennefather, please.
Okay, thank you for your question. Yeah, I think just obviously things have changed in the town throughout decades, and people were used to certain things, and things, have not always been implemented. And because we're a smaller town, I think sometimes there's an expectation that we'd be more lenient, but I think we really need to ensure that we are enforcing our bylaws, especially on streets that are very narrow. Percival, as you know, is a super narrow street. It is a two-way street, and sometimes, especially with snow accumulation, you can imagine it's very hard to get 2 lanes of traffic down that street. So if there was a ticket that was distributed, is because there was, probably the car was too far out in the street. I received a similar ticket in Westmount. Unfortunately, I was too far from the curb, and I believe someone else on council may have received a similar ticket in the town of Montreal-Ouest as well. So yes, we do enforce those bylaws, and in terms of the 4-hour parking as well, if you do have guests that are over and you know that they're going to be over longer than the 4-hour time period, you can apply for a visitor parking permit that would allow them to park longer than those 4 hours. So I would encourage you to make sure that you are abiding by the parking bylaws. And I understand that there were challenges a lot. Again, we had unprecedented amount of snow since the 1940s, and doing our best. But again, if it's impeding vehicles from being able to come down the road safety, I think it's better than, unfortunately, somebody could possibly hit someone's vehicle. So it's, we're meant to apply bylaws really to ensure we're also covering safety in that aspect as well. So thank you for your question.
Thank you. And our very last question comes from Danielle Pouliot.
I think there's another one after that.
No, the person asked in person.
Oh, she asked in person.
So,
Okay.
from 2435 Avenue, the Mayfair. What is the city doing to ensure safety for Royal West Academy students crossing Westminster between Sherbrooke and Avon? This entire section is very dangerous, as evidenced by numerous incidents. Please take action quickly. Royal West parent and NDG resident. Councillor Small-Pennefather.
Thank you, Ms.
Please.
Pouliot, for your question. It was very similar to a couple of the other questions that were asked here in person as well as online. And we have taken a number of measures, including installing some flashing stop signs, making sure we're speaking with our partners, increased presence of ESPVM, speaking with partners like CPKC and EXO on a very frequent basis to see if there's any measures that can be implemented. And we actually have a notice of motion that's coming up that's going to help us in terms of implementing some of the recommendations that came from our report from recommendations that came in from 2024 that were made from a report that we commissioned in 2023. And that notice of motion will be coming up a little later on, and that's basically in terms of prohibiting southbound turns from Sherbrooke and Broughton And that, of course, these are all done, I say always with the caveat of a projet pilote, to see how they actually affect. We're such a small town that anything that we put in place can have an undesired effect in other parts of the town. So we want to make sure the decisions that we're making are the right decisions for the town. And we are, again, saying that we're prioritizing safety over convenience. We will be doing that. And if we have to make any additional measures, we will do that as well. But that having those two prohibitive turns onto Broughton and onto from Sherbrooke and Broughton will also give us an opportunity to look at how we can reconfigure some of Westminster as well to make it more safer. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. So that's it for the question period? No, please wait till the, no, please wait till the end. Please wait till the end if it pertains to something that we have been reading. So next point is number 9, contracts and town clerk's office. Objection to agglomeration by law number RCG 25-002 by law authorizing a loan of 20 million to finance land purchase within the scope of the Quartier Namur Hippodrome project. Councillor Yulin will give us a little summary and we'll move the motion at the same time.
Sure. So this is basically an objection to the agglomeration taking a loan of $20 million to finance the Hippodrome project, and the feeling from the demerged municipalities is that this is not something that they should have on their back. Whereas on January 23rd, 2025, the agglomeration of the City of Montreal adopted a bylaw number RCG 25-002, bylaw authorizing a loan of $20 million to finance a land purchase within the scope of Quartier Namur Hippodrome project. Further the bylaw. Whereas, according to the Town of Montreal-West, the agglomeration of Montreal did not have the authority to either, under either the Act respecting the exercise of certain municipal jurisdiction in certain agglomerations, or Order in Council 1229-2005 to adopt the bylaws. Whereas, according to the town, the bylaw is unreasonable in that it imposes a tax burden on the related municipalities of the agglomeration without specifying the project's developments covered by the bylaw, which will have to be assumed by the agglomeration. Whereas the bylaw is, without limitation, imprecise, incomplete, and unintelligible, with practical effects operating an illegal subdelegation of powers to the representatives of the City of Montreal to define, arbitrate, and spend unilaterally without being subject to review and supervision by related municipalities, in particular in contravention of the minimum transparency rules that shall prevail in public financial management. Whereas all the representatives of the municipalities that are members of the Association of Suburban Municipalities, the ASM, and who were present at the meeting of the Agglomeration Council opposed the adoption of this bylaw. Whereas under the circumstances, the Town of Montreal-West wants to initiate judicial proceedings so that the bylaw cannot come into force or is cancelled. Therefore, I move that the mandate be given to the firm Prévost Fortin Daou Avocat to file with the Commission Municipale de Québec the opposition of the Town of Montreal-West to bylaw number RCG 25-002, bylaw authorizing a loan of $20 million to finance land purchase within the scope of the Quartier Namur Hippodrome project, and to file an application with the Superior Court to have this bylaw declared void, as well as to represent the town and take all necessary steps in these proceedings. And secondly, that the town representative on the board of the ASM be mandated to follow up on these procedures.
Can I have someone to second this motion?
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Earth Hour 2025.
So, whereas the Earth Hour is a yearly international event sponsored by the World Wildlife Fund, whereas this event is intended to increase public awareness of the importance of saving energy to fight climate change, I move that the Town of Montreal-West agree to turn off all non-essential lighting for 1 hour on Saturday, March 22nd, 2025, starting 8:30 p.m., and that all residents of Montreal-West be encouraged to join in this event in the same way. And lastly, that the Town of Montreal-West invite all Montreal Island municipalities to take part in Earth Hour 2025.
Can I have someone to second this motion?
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Approval of the disbursement January 25th to January 21st, 2025.
I move that the list of accounts payable from January 25th to February 21st, 2025, totaling $2,466,174.35, and payroll in the amount of $250,913.60, period 5 to 8, be approved and paid.
Can I have someone to second this
I
motion?
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Délégation des pouvoirs pour le mois de février 2025.
Oui, je propose d'approuver le rapport de la directrice générale concernant l'exercice des pouvoirs délégués en vertu du règlement numéro 2005-002 pour le mois de février 2025.
Est-ce que je peux avoir l'appui?
Oui, je l'appuie.
Tout en favor?
Oui.
Oui.
Grants 2025.
I move that the Town of Montreal-West award the following grants for the year 2025. Montreal-West Children's Library, $89,500. Montreal-West Public Library, $94,966. The Informer, $24,000. The Community Services Council, $5,000. And Dr. Robert Drummond Roots and Remembrance, $250.
Can I have someone to second it?
I second it.
Policy for the establishment
All
of...
in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Policy for the establishment of subcategories of immovables and division into sectors of the town's territory. Councillor Yulin will summarize and read it.
Sure. So basically, this is a resolution that will allow the town, as all cities and towns are doing as well, on the island. And that is to allow cities to divide up the taxable units in more specific ways. So for instance, now we have a residential rate of property tax, we have a commercial rate for property tax, we have a rate for industrial and such. So there are different categories. And this now will allow us to have more categories if we want. So that's essentially what this is. Whereas the Act amending the Act respecting municipal taxation and other legislative provisions, Bill 39, the town wishes to define the key dates in the process of developing subcategories of immovables and the division into sectors of the town's territory, which will be used to create the town's fiscal policy. Whereas the purpose of this policy is to optimize the town's efforts and ensure a smooth process that complies with the Act respecting municipal taxation deadlines when preparing a new property assessment roll. Therefore, I move that the said policy for the establishment of subcategories of immovables and division into sectors of the town territory be approved as presented in the appendix.
Can I have someone to second this motion?
I second the motion.
I think I'm getting tired. Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Urban planning, site planning projects, and architectural integration programs. I move to acknowledge receipt of the minutes of a meeting held by the Planning Advisory Committee, PAC, on February 19, 2025. To approve as presented under the SPIP the following plans submitted to this meeting in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 9498 Westminster North, installation of a commercial sign. To approve with conditions under the SPAIP the following plans submitted to this meeting in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 2628 Westminster North, transformation and extension of the existing building to add more residential units. 159 Westminster North, replacement of the front door and transom. Can I have someone to second this motion?
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public Works, purchase contracts, one vehicle.
Right, so whereas the purchase of a pickup truck for the Recreation Department has been scheduled for 2025 in accordance with the program of capital expenditures that was adopted in December 2024, whereas the contract can be awarded following a call for tender conducted through the Quebec Government Purchasing Services in accordance with Section 573.3.2 of the Cities and Towns Act. Therefore, I move that the purchase of the following vehicle year 2025 under order number 748257 be approved and processed through the Centre d'Acquisition Gouvernementale in accordance with the provisions of its call for tender. One Ford Lightning Pro for a total price of $56,445 before taxes, and that the Recreation Councillor, Mr. Chris Carney, be authorized to sign the necessary documents for ordering, delivery, and registration purposes. And lastly, that this expense be charged to the working fund.
Can I have someone seconding this motion?
Second the motion.
And it's the recreation coordinator, Mr. Chris Carney. Right? You said councillor?
Oh, did I? Oh, he's not a
okay.
councillor yet.
No.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Oops. I promoted you, Chris.
Contrat de l'étalage.
we'll
All in
vote on that.
favor.
Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Contrat de l'étalage, de dégagement et abattage d'arbres. Second renouvellement.
Attendu que le contrat actuel fût adjugé pour un Arbo Design Inc. en vertu de la résolution numéro 2022-1219-009, en parenthèse 2, plus 2 options de renouvellement d'une année chacune. Attendu que le document d'appel d'offres prévoit que le prix de contrat durant l'année, l'option et celui de l'année antérieure augmenté suivant l'indice des prix à la consommation IPC pour Montréal dans les 12 mois précédents. Attendu que le dit contrat fut renouvelé une première fois par la résolution numéro 202404 de 25-011. En conséquence, que le contrat d'entreprise Arbo Design Inc. pour la gage de dégagement et l'abattage d'arbres publics soit renouvelé une autre année au prix de 75 086,86 $ avant taxe. De que cette dépense soit imputée au poste budgétaire 02-750-03-419. 3. Que le maire et les greffiers soient autorisés à signer tout document requis aux fins de mise en œuvre de la présente résolution, le cas échéant.
Est-ce que je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous
Oui,
plaît?
je l'appuie.
Tout en faveur?
Oui.
Okay. Mandate to the City of Montreal to carry out a group call for tenders for the supply of road salt in bulk.
Whereas the City of Montreal has offered to coordinate a group call for tenders on behalf of participating municipalities for the supply of road salt in bulk from September 15th, 2025 to April 30th, 2026. Whereas the Director of Public Works will act as a representative of the town from Montreal-West in this regard. Therefore, I move that the council authorized that the council authorized the participation of the town of Montreal-West in a group call for tenders for the purpose of awarding contracts for the supply of road salt in bulk. Secondly, that the town of Montreal-West delegate to the City of Montreal the power to prepare the specifications and other tender documents to proceed with the calls for tender, to receive and analyze the offers, and to report the results to participating municipalities. And lastly, that the Director of Public Works and the Assistant Director of Public Works each be authorized to sign any necessary documents to implement this resolution.
Can I have one to second this motion?
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Appointments, designation of the pro-mayor. Councillor Small-Pennefather.
Thank you.
Please.
The last persons who held the office of Pro-Mayor, starting with the most recent incumbent, were Councillors Maria Torres, Elizabeth Ewan, Lauren Small-Pennefather, and Colleen Feeney. I move that that Councillor Colleen Feeney be appointed Pro-Mayor for the months of April, May, June, and July 2025. 2, that Councillor Colleen Feeney be designated to replace Mayor Benny Masala on the Agglomeration Council as necessary, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded if needed to the Agglomeration Council. 3, that the appointment take effect on April 1st, 2025.
Can I have someone to second?
I second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Deposit of documents, we don't have anything under this heading. Notice of motion, reading adoption of bylaws. Notice of motion and deposit of draft bylaw for a bylaw amending bylaw number 405 concerning traffic. Councillor Small-Pennefather will
Yes.
explain it and read it.
Thank you. So this is the notice of motion that I've been referencing in my responses with regards to some of the recommendations that we're putting in place from the report that we received for the traffic study in Montreal-West. These notice of motion with regards to prohibiting turns from Broughton onto Westminster onto Broughton, or is it Broughton onto Westminster?
God, from Broughton
Left.
coming to
Yeah.
Westminster.
So prohibiting a left-hand turn from Broughton to Westminster, similar to prohibiting the left-hand turn from Sherbrooke to Westminster, will then allow us, this notice of motion, to look at the reconfiguration of Westminster and what changes could be made based on prohibiting both of those turns. Again, it's a notice of motion, and the said bylaw in the draft version would be tabled and made available to public. So again, this is part of the recommendations from the traffic study that the town commissioned in 2023, which received recommendations in the fall of 2024. And these are all part of the phased approach of looking at some of the measures that we can take to improve safety along Westminster, particularly in the south quadrant of the town. And again, this is a notice of motion.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Councillor Small-Pennefather. Avis d'émotion pour un règlement amendement, le règlement numéro 2024-001 concernant la collecte et la disposition des matières résiduelles. Councillor Yulin will explain it and read.
So basically, this is a notice of motion to modify our bylaw dealing with recycling. Essentially now, as you perhaps know, the recycling system has changed and there are some more things that are recyclable. So we have to change our bylaw to match what is now really recyclable. And also they will no longer pick up small recycling bins. And so we have to change our bylaw to indicate that as well. That's what this is. It's a notice of motion, so there's nothing more to do here than that.
Yeah, we still have to read it, right? Je donne un avis de motion de représentation à une prochaine séance du conseil d'un règlement intitulé Règlement amendement les règlements 2024-001 concernant la collecte et la disposition des matières résiduelles. Un projet de règlement sera mis à la disposition du public lors d'une prochaine séance et au moins 12 jours avant l'adoption de ce règlement par le Conseil. Next is another notice of motion, this time for bylaw concerning solid fuel heating and cooking devices and fireplaces. Councillor Yuna will explain and read it as well.
So this is essentially a notice of motion, letting folks know that it's coming at one of our next council meetings to have new regulations come in on wood burning appliances, essentially. That's what it is. The bylaw concerning solid fuel heating and cooking devices and fireplaces, the draft bylaw will be made available to the public at a subsequent meeting of council at least 2 days before the meeting when the schedule it is scheduled to be adopted.
Thank you. Now we're coming to the second public question period. The people in the room are invited to ask us questions concerning the matters on the agenda of this meeting, as well as questions submitted online. We don't have any questions online? No. So we can go.
Hi.
Yes.
Joanna, do 232 Percival. So just so I understand, the traffic bylaw tonight, was there already a bylaw passed earlier
There was
about
a
this
first
same-
reading
Right,
that
okay.
affected a prohibit in October was prohibiting a southbound turn from Sherbrooke to Westminster.
Okay.
This is a notice of motion, so it's not a bylaw yet, but it's a notice of motion that one will be coming.
Okay.
And that one will be prohibiting a southbound turn from Broughton to Westminster. And again, I just want to clarify that these are all done on a projet pilote basis. None of it is permanent yet until we see how we give it a few months to see how the town is affected by those two closures. And if you recall, the construction that went on Broughton and the construction that went on in parallel on Sherbrooke kind of gave us an idea of what it might do. But we need to see how that'll affect the town over a few months. And then if it goes as according to plan, then there is another phased approach, and that would be changing some configurations based on those turns. So for instance, if one of those turns doesn't make sense in the end, then we have to change what the configuration is actually prohibiting both of those turns, Broughton and Sherbrooke. And if we notice that one of them is not working for whatever reason, we have to go back and see another configuration. But that kind of, the phases allow us to make some of the configuration changes that are required and that were recommended out of the traffic study that was commissioned from 23.
Okay. And so just to do you have any idea how long it'll be before those turns are actually prohibited?
I think if I'm not mistaken, printemps-ish. Okay, so a few more months then. Yeah. No, I can do. It's okay, Raphaël. I can.
Est-ce que ça doit
So
être coordonné
It
avec
has
le
to be
travail?
coordinated,
Yeah,
exactly,
okay.
with the chemin ferroviaire, so with the
Okay.
train, the level crossing,
Uh-huh.
all of that has to be coordinated.
Okay.
So we can anticipate some of this starting in the spring-ish, but I don't know how long it's gonna take for it to move forward. And again, it all has to be coordinated with the level crossing.
Okay. Can I ask one more question? It's still on the same topic, though. Are those same streets going to be closed again in the spring for the work that was done?
So our understanding is that Sherbrooke has to close again for more work, and that has to do with, I think, the XO has some more work to do in that area on Sherbrooke. Broughton, I don't know, but I do know Sherbrooke is going to have to close again. I feel like it's March or May that they're going to be closing part of Sherbrooke again around the same area that it was closed last year, to be able to make the updates or the updated requirements that they have for the remainder of the project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My God, I made it. Cynthia Nichols, 25 Westminster South. I wanted clarification on 10D about the immovables and the subcategories, but it seems there's something even more important on the agenda. There's another water main break on Brock. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And is it going to affect the land again?
No, I don't think there is any.
There was a
It
question
was
here.
Valentine. It was on Valentine. It's already fixed. It was on the south side, on Valentine.
On the other side of the road.
Yeah.
On the other side of Avon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
the
what
pipes
is-
are not connected.
No.
We're not on that
No, no,
line,
no.
right? Because we did have a
No.
decrease in water pressure at one point.
And
So.
what's your question concerning 10D?
10D, I was just wondering about I'm not finished that question, but anyways, 10D, are we talking about like the condo developments? Is this a subcategory that you're going with, or townhouses, that kind of a thing?
No, this is in case, for example, they give us the example with commercial. We separate all the areas or all the zoning, depending whether it's
Yes,
residential.
yes.
So now each one can be have
A
subcategories.
exactly. So,
For example, you have a commercial. In certain areas, you might be allowed certain type of commerce or not, and not. So those are the subcategories.
And
But
it's important, though, to point out that what was adopted here tonight was just a bylaw, just a resolution about the process. We have not made any decisions about different categories. That's far down the road.
Okay.
Okay, this is just about the process that we're going to follow to make those choices.
Well, one comes up with such
Okay, I think those were your two
sentences
questions.
and decisions. It would only seem likely that you've already got something in mind, and I was just wondering whether or not
We
council
do
No,
not.
did.
No, no.
On the other hand, Montreal en Lumière. I haven't heard anything about it. Are we going to participate in it? It's been 8
I'm
years.
sorry, yeah, you asked your 2 questions, and that is not part of the agenda tonight. So if you want,
Maria.
ask, no, we have to
Madame
follow our
Torres,
process, yeah.
You're being ridiculous.
Ask,
at this point now.
if you want to know about that, ask Colleen, who's responsible for, she's not here either, for recreation and culture and all these events, and maybe she'll give you a better idea. We would not have that answer anyhow.
So who's the counselor in charge of recreation?
Colleen Finney, but she's not here tonight.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you so much. And can I have someone to lever les séances?
Oui, je propose de lever la séance.
Okay.
Oui, je l'appuie.
Ah. Merci. Tout en favor?
Oui.
Okay. Thank you so
Okay,
much. We're
merci.
done.